I want you to imagine that you work at a company, and this company has 50% women, 50% men working for them. And in this company, the men work 8 hours a day and the women work 6. And for biological reasons, the men produce a higher quality of work. There's nothing anyone can really do about it. Yes, son, yes. Sorry, my kid in the background there. So there's nothing anyone can do about it. It is what it is. It's just men produce better work. And that means the higher quality in work they produce brings in more customers, which brings more revenue to the business. Now, the thing is with this company, despite those facts, the men and the women are paid the same. If this was to happen in any company, the men in that company would be livid. They wouldn't accept this, would they? That would be wildly unfair. And yet, this is exactly what's happening in the world of professional tennis. The men and the women at the professional Grand Slams, the biggest events in the world, are paid the same. They have the same prize money. Djokovic just won the US Open. He walked away, what was it, just over $3 million. Coco Gauff won the female. She walked away with just over $3 million. And the thing is with tennis, men play best of 5 sets at the Grand Slams. Women play best of 3. The men, because they're biologically stronger and faster, the quality of the game is way higher, and I'll get into that. I'll be very specific on that in a minute, but it's way higher, which of course brings in more spectators in the stadiums and on TV, which brings in more sponsorship, which brings in more revenue to the business, to the game. And yet, men and women pay the same. If I was a male tennis player, I would be on the door of the authorities in every press conference on my social media talking about how wildly unfair that is, that men should be paid more. If you want true equality, if you want fairness, the men will get a bigger slice of the pie. But we don't live in that world, do we? We don't live in the world. We live in the world now. The Western world is run by the far left. The far left won the culture war. And that means that women can demand and claim it's unfair that they get paid less than men, despite men working more and producing high quality of work and bringing in more customers. And men spoke about this. There's a few players. Djokovic, I remember Djokovic came out a few years ago and he spoke about this and said how men should be paid more. And he got slated for it. Slated. There was an organizer of one of the big events, and he said that the female tennis players should be on their hands and knees thanking Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic for the money they earn. Now, okay, you could say kind of crude comments there, but it's true. They should be thanking the men for the money they earn. And I find it incredible that women complain about not being paid the same as men in the other events throughout the rest of the year. You okay there, buddy? Thought he was about to choke on an apple. Choo-choo, huh? So I find it funny that they complain, because the men and the women, when you look at all the separate events throughout the year, the men have higher prize money. Yeah, because people tune into the men's game more than the women's. It's that simple. And they still complain. It's crazy. I don't understand this conversation around equal pay when women, the female tennis players, are at the highest levels of the game. They're the highest paid athletes in women's sport by a mile. And if you separated since the beginning of the game, if you had separated the men's and women's Grand Slam events different times of the year, so they didn't share the events, no one would know who Serena and Venus Williams are. No one would have heard of Maria Sharapova. No one would know who Coco Gauff is. No one would care. They would be as well known as all the top female footballers in the world. I couldn't tell you one female footballer by name. I really couldn't. But Serena and Venus Williams, these are household names. And they're amazing athletes. Don't get me wrong. Female tennis players, I think female tennis players are probably the highest skilled female athletes in the world. They're incredible. But they're nowhere near the men's. If you put Serena Williams, you had Serena Williams at her peak, her absolute peak, her best years, her highest level, I don't think she'd even be top 1,000 in the world in the men's game. And other players come out. I remember Andy Murray saying that. And I speak from a place of understanding, of knowing. Right? I have been in the game my whole life. I was semi-pro. I've been a professional coach now for 13 years. I've coached men, and I've played with men in the top 500 in the world, and I've coached women top 500 and higher in the world. There's a massive difference. I remember myself. I was an unranked male player. I was one win away from getting my world ranking. And I remember training with a woman who at the time was about 220 in the world WTA. She went to, in the end, she became top 50 in the world. And I trained with her, and I beat her in a practice match, 6-4, 7-5, and I didn't play well. I did not play well. And you could say, well, it's practice, you're not going as flat out. No. We were both going flat out. I didn't want to lose to a girl, and she didn't want to lose to a guy who was unranked. We both went flat out. It was intense. And I played pretty badly, and I beat her. The highest ranked guy I played in a professional match, he was about 350 in the world, and he whooped me, 6-3, 6-2. Again, I didn't play well, probably would have been a bit closer, but he beat me comfortably. The levels to the game are crazy. And the thing is, a lot of female players now, I think the girls at the highest level, they understand the difference. They know that they're a long way away because they train at the Grand Slams and the major events. They train side by side. They often practice with a lot of the pros. So they know the difference. They see the difference. They feel the difference. But some of the women slightly lower down in the world rankings, they've been indoctrinated as well. One girl that I was coaching, she was 300 WTA, so 300 in the world for women's. I asked her where she thinks Serena would be in the men's game, and her response was top 10. My jaw hit the floor. I couldn't believe what she said. I said, what, top 10,000? She goes, what? Top 10 in the world. I couldn't help but laugh. I said, that's crazy. She wouldn't be top 1,000. And she looked at me like I was crazy. Like, the delusion here is really brainwashing even professional female players now at slightly lower levels. So, but that's the world we live in, and unfortunately the only way to combat it is if the guys grow some fucking balls. The male players just need to grow some balls, accept the criticism that's going to come their way, and just live in the world of reality. Live in the world of reality. If you're producing better work, you're bringing in more money, and you're working more hours, you deserve to be paid more money. It's that simple. Howdy guys, hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. My link to my main channel is in the description. It'd be great if you can go over there. That's where my main body of work, my high quality of work is going to be produced. Right here, I'm just going to rant 2-3 times a week as you watch me play tennis. So the two things I'm best at, playing tennis and chatting bollocks. Cheers guys.